The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. We started the revival of the eCAR late model stock series at the Kern County Raceway in California, where we saw a clean race with only 3 cautions, won by, of course, Mr. Chris Horton. Today we head to a shorter track, going back bull ring style here to Langley Speedway out of Hampton, Virginia, the little 0.4 of a mile flat bull ring oval. Who will complete the victory here today? 200 laps, a longer distance race. Who will survive the challenges ahead of us? Let's find out together. Welcome everybody to PTR TV. Today's coverage of the eCAR late model stock series. Again, 200 laps around here at the Langley Speedway. Gonna be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth and in the production truck. I got Patrick Coleman here with me. He usually helps us out on Tuesdays with our ARCA series with Triple Bypass and along with the Elbows Out Racing, but he'll be with me for the majority of these eCAR races. So Patrick, bull ring style race, and not something that you watch too often, but certainly something that will be fun to witness here tonight.
It's a very short track. We were talking about it quite a bit, doing some good research on this track. It's a very flat track, about 6 degrees of banking at max, so it's a relatively flat track, really short as well. So I'm expecting some really good racing here today. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. That here is again a little bit different here tonight compared to what we had last week. As again, last week at Kern County, as I said, only an 80 lap race, so this race will be a little bit longer, a bit longer, so there will be a little bit of differences in how this race does run, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's go over the weather conditions here today from Georgia. Not Georgia, from Virginia, somewhere down south. They're all ones and the same. 71 in the air, 97 track, and so that'll be a little bit toasty, but we are racing dead middle of the afternoon there, Patrick, so expect that track temp to go up, and should be hot and slick. These cars should be sliding around searching for grip. Indeed.
Yeah, with cold tires, I mean, you're gonna have cold tires for probably a fraction of a second. These tires are gonna warm up really quickly here around this track. And yeah, so we're going to definitely see some cars slipping and sliding. And even when we were watching some of the practice earlier on before we went live, we were seeing a good amount of slipping and sliding already. And that's before we put down a good amount of rubber on this track. So I think there's probably going to be some contact, but I'm expecting some good, hard, clean racing here today.
Yeah, hopefully that is the case. I know that our pal, of course, if you've been following PTR TV for any amount of time, you know Andre Grandbush Dirt, as we call him, and he is going to be doing some administrative duties here to help the league out here and make sure this race goes swimmingly clean. So we know how Dirt is, and he likes to see his clean racing. But we are currently in warm-up right now. Qualifying already has done its justice here. So see Jack McKee there, and that number 28 here is Chris Horton, last week's winner, of course, driving his normal Lexus that he paints for himself here. A lot of good paint schemes. And Scott Mayhew coming around the racetrack here. Looks like lap time's around 15 seconds. We'll just have to see if those tires start to fall off and the lap times slow down over the course of the race there, Patrick.
Indeed. Just from looking at this track, the front right tire is probably going to take the most amount of abuse here. So we'll just have to see who can manage these tires. There is a caution pretty much right at the halfway mark at lap 100. So ideally, these drivers are going to try to keep their tires alive until that point, and then they can go ahead and change tires if they need to.
Yeah, that could turn out to be a little bit of a strategy call, but you know, again, depends how this race does situate out here. But either way, that is the end of our warm-up, so get a good time to thank everyone for tuning in here to PTR TV. If it's the first time, don't make it your last. Hit that like and subscribe button here. Comment with us here in the chat. Let's have some fun over the course of today's broadcast. And the sponsors that help put this league on and are affiliated with the league, they'll rotate out on the top right corner of the screen, so make sure you check those out as well. But let's head down trackside, give you that starting lineup here today from the Langley Speedway. Starting today's race off from the front row, it's going to be last week's winner and prior series champion, I believe, Chris Horton there, and Dave Beischener in that second spot. Jacob Snyder in third, with Brad Carpenter going to be rolling off from the fourth spot. Fifth, we'll find Jack Fred, with Travis Suckup going to be in position number 6. Jack McKee in 7th, Jacob Witt in 8th, and then rounding out our top 10, exactly 20 guys here today, our top half of the field, we got Stephen Rex and Colt Huff, the Bose, Alabama native.
And then taking a look at our next 10 here on the second half of the grid, we have John Guttenkust. Might have mispronounced that, but we're going to roll on anyway. And then Scott Mayhew Jr. rounding out P12. And then we have Bryce DeGavara and then Eric Hudson taking P13 and P14. And then we have Nathan Rhew and Jonathan Broncacchio in row number 8. And then it is Chris Norris and Brent Meckes in row 9. And then our last two drivers, Dylan Winters and Geoff Williams, taking out our final row in row number 10. All 20 cars here on the track here tonight. It's going to be a fast and furious race here for 200 laps around the Langley Speedway.
Now, Patrick, I did actually get some enunciations there in the background. You said Bryce's name perfectly, Bryce DeGavara. He just told me that on the Discord. But this is something in NASCAR, we always know the Bodine brothers. It's not Geoff, it's Jeff. It's one of those weird, you know, it's kind of like Sean, S-E-A-N, somehow it spells Sean. But a couple names like John, you know, if we said anybody's name wrong, let us know. We are happy to try to memorize those over the course of our season. But our race details here, again, from Langley. 200 laps around, our stage at 100. So that's just one of the nuances of this being what is deemed as kind of an extended distance race. So that will be a guaranteed caution there. They will have full fuel to start, and one set of tires has been availed in pit lane.
Yeah, so that's going to probably play into the strategy of these drivers pretty well. We'll have to see. I mean, ideally, the strategy for these drivers here is going to be to try to get to that lap 100, keep the tires from falling apart, and then when that caution comes out, then the drivers can go ahead and come into the box and go ahead and get that fresh set of rubber. So that is probably going to be the ideal strat. I don't foresee anyone making any changes earlier than the caution.
Yeah, it'd be a very difficult strategy call. Depends how that fall off does work out. Of course, they are an open setup series here, so something that they can make those adjustments. A lot of marbles here, as you can look to the left side of your screen on the outside wall. A lot of marbles here at Langley, so that may come into play here with our multi-groove racing as the race progresses. But coming through turns 3 and 4 here at Langley, race number 2 of the eCAR late model season. Gonna go green pace cars in the pits. Horton on the loud pedal, and let's go racing here from Langley. Diving off into the corner all the way down on the flat is Horton trying to clear. He should get that lead clear, but no, Beischener to the outside. He's going to go send it there, and he's going to clear for the lead from the outside. Look at that huge surge of momentum.
Yeah, and to top it off with a little tap of the wall there for the number 3 of Dave Beischener there. Very, very good overtake over there, and it looks like Chris Horton just really has not the start that he wanted to this race, because he is under a lot of pressure there behind, but Dave had probably the best start he could have ever hoped for in this race. I mean, he has got a really good gap, about a half a second gap to kick things off here, and considering that this is a track just at 0.4 miles, that's a pretty sizable big gap to kick things off here.
Yeah, exactly that. Here's our timing software just back up here in the background, so just bear with us for a brief moment. But yeah, Beischner coming from that outside lane, and something that I remember seeing last week, which obviously is going to be news to you there, Patrick, but Chris Horton was someone who doesn't necessarily come out of the gate swinging here. A lot of times he will save his stuff and you know, make those later run surges here, but that is not something that may come in play here, where there is another set of tires to avail. Maybe those guys who use all their stuff will actually, you know, be the ones to persevere, because they will have that extra set of tires here. But look at that outside lane. Travis Suckup, 45 car. Not something I expected to see. I didn't expect the outside to be the preferred lane here, but that seems to be what we're seeing.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either, honestly. I was thinking the better you can get on the apron, the better extra you're going to have. But don't tell that to Travis, because Travis is using that outside line, and he has made up a handful of positions already. He's already in a podium spot. Now he's going to look to put pressure onto Brad Carpenter. We'll see if he can get it done, but we are only on lap 8 out of 200, so there's a good amount of racing left to go. Now the Lexus is under double pressure now from Jacob Schneider and Jack Fred there. They are going to trade positions back and forth. Jack winning out in that engagement. He's up in the 5th and taking a look at Chris Horton. Going to go ahead and give it a go, but Steven Rex going to go ahead and try to get some moves done here himself in that number 6 car, trying to get into P6. Well, Jack McKee is right behind.
I saw Colt Huff in that 08. He was running down on the flat there, and you can see he's actually in the grass through turns 1 and 2 there, underneath John Gutekunst there in that number 41 automobile. Behind that, you have the 88 Nathan Rhew, someone who, shocking to see him this far back in the lineup, but I'm sure he will work his way through down to the inside. But this track, a lot like the Stafford Speedway, where you have the opportunity not just to run the track, but the 6 degrees of banking does give you the option to use that apron of the raceway here, as it looks like the sun coming out. Very bright skies have come out here in Georgia. Why do I keep saying Georgia? In Virginia, as a little bit of contact. Gutekunst there with some contact, I think, from the 9 of Guevara. De Guevara. It'll get cooked in eventually.
Names are hard. I mean, from our time in commentating, I mean, there's always going to be a few of those names that does trip us up. So, but John here is going to go and try to put some good pressure onto the pole sitter of Chris Horton now. Granted, we know Chris Horton he's a management driver, and management could either really make or break your race. We'll just have to see, because normally there isn't really pit stops here in this series. So this is a longer race, so there is that extra set of tires that will come into play here, as Dave is under pressure now from Travis, who Travis has also had a really good start to this race here. 15 laps in, and I mean, we're talking about how good Dave's start was as he rocking it up to the get-go, but he gets it on the inside. He's going to try to force it up the inside. Travis sending it up the inside and getting it to stick. He's having a mighty fine drive here.
It's just the dynamics in this race, Patrick, thus far into it, just so interesting. As doesn't look like Dave is done. Beischner not done there. Bischner, we haven't been corrected on him yet, but tried to make a little lunge there. But our pole sitter, Chris Horton, he's back to 13th. He has just thrown the parachute out. And then you had Bischner all the way out, just, you know, driving around him like he's still driving up by a second. And now you have Travis Suckup, who just drove through. Where did he start in the race? I've already forgotten. He drove from 6th to 1st, and now he's shot out of a cannon here. 20 laps into the event, essentially. We have not really had any discernible tire drop-off, about 1/10 of a second. But this makes you wonder, if you start the race this fast, are you going to be able to persevere? Are you going to be able to maintain, or will you have a fall off around like 50 or 60 or so?
Yeah, that we're going to have to really see, because, I mean, like you said, I mean, at this stage, if the drop-off is only about 1/10, as we're, ironically enough, 1/10 of the way through this race, then I think it'll be pretty likely that he could get to the end. But once again, we will have to see, and especially if these drivers do eventually catch traffic, that's also going to play a massive factor in this race, as now we have John Gutekunst here going ahead and trying to put pressure onto Scott Mayhew Jr., the number 41, trying to put pressure onto the number 29. And we're seeing some pretty good racing, but the number 8 of Colt Huff is actually putting on some pressure onto Nathan Rhew here. The number 88 car is under some pressure, but he's managing it pretty well. We see Nathan going on the inside, but Cole's going on the inside, trying to get past Nathan, but nothing quite yet.
Back for the lead.
Oh, but that's a move for the lead. Dave Bichner is back into the lead this race, but how long can he keep it? Because we know Travis has been rapid on the outside line, but he's about to lose a position on the outside to Jack Fred, so maybe the outside line isn't optimal anymore.
Yeah, you can see in the marbles and in the fence, they suck up there in the number 45. You can just see there on your screen if you have the right resolution. You may be able to see it. If not, we can at least let you know that there are a lot of marbles to the top of the track, and they actually will form to the bottom of the racetrack as well. So if they aren't utilizing the apron, that will become a slick part of the track, but they are clearly utilizing it, as on cue does Jack Fred go to the bottom of the track, right to the back bumper of the 3. Lead changes aplenty. Nobody wants to lead this thing. Now let's just kind of get a rear deck lid cam from Dave, and that 10 down to the flat, trying to get that car to turn. It's called de-wedging the car. That's what it's called, where you use the banking difference to help that car rotate, help it turn. Sometimes it'll happen too abruptly, but 10 doing a good job to maintain it.
Yeah, if you don't de-wedge your car, or if you de-wedge your car too much, you might end up just wedging it into a wall, which is the last thing you'd want, especially with how close the racing is here tonight. So we're seeing some pretty good battles here, up and down the field. The number 28 versus the number 88. This is Jack McKee and Nathan Rhew going at it. Just jumping right ahead of the 81 of Jacob Schneider here. Running on board now with the number 28, started 7th, is currently in 7th. But we do have Jacob Schneider wanting to change that, wanting to drop the number 28 a position as we continue on with this race. And actually just up the road, Nathan Rhew is putting pressure onto Steven Rex for position. They are both pretty close as well. So, and that's the first caution of the night here. And oh, it's the number 77 having a moment.
Eric Hudson there going around, and let's see what the instigation was behind this one here on our PTR TV replay. He's behind Horton, and that may be an example, just as we talked about there, Patrick, literally within seconds ago, we were talking about de-wedging the car. He was straddling that apron, and it may have just been a little bit too much that time, sent him around.
Despite having 777s on the side of his car, he didn't have good luck there. Just, unfortunately, yeah, just kind of wedged his car into the wall there. So it'll bring out the first caution of the race. Once again, just to remind our fantastic viewers at home, there is a stage caution at lap 100. So for these drivers who were trying to manage these tires, I mean, they're going to have a bit of a better shot at it. But here's the question now, Corey, is do you think we'll see anybody try to pit under this caution to maybe try to get track position at the next caution?
Well, Steven Rex pit, and I didn't see the jack go up. Of course, in these late model stocks, I'm not sure offhand. I think the pit stops are around 20 seconds for tires, so it actually is a little bit harder to get that change. Of course, we're not doing single lug guns circa the Cup Series, or even the well, we are doing 5 lugs, but we're not doing them at the speed of the NASCAR Top 3 Series, so it is a little bit more to change. We have John you said his name a lot better than I can say it, but we got Johnny B. That's what it's on his windshield there. He pit for 11 seconds, so I'm assuming that's going to be fuel. I don't know what the maximum fuel length is, but again, we have that stage at lap 100 that league owner Dylan made me aware of, so I'm not too sure what topping off does here.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. We are 1 from green, so I guess we'll find out here soon enough who's going to go and take charge and who's just going to fall right back down the order.
Yeah, again, falling through the order, that was Horton. Horton back in 10th, our pole sitter. Maybe he's found what he needs, but, you know, so far, it's a very shocking, interesting situation there. But the pace car is in. Bichner on the front row. Fred to the outside. We saw the outside be advantageous on the initial start. Not so much now. Suckup trying to take advantage of the inside lane, but that inside lane really hasn't been the money spot here. And you know, here on iRacing, we have the dynamic track system. That bottom groove gets hot from a lot of drivers running it, gets rubbered up, gets slick. sometimes running that, you know, longer distance around on that cleaner pavement ends up being the grippier spot.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times here across different series where we've seen just some lines start off really good, but they fall off during the race just like the tires will. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of that track evolution here where maybe that line just isn't the optimal line anymore, and maybe there's a car that just kind of blinked out of existence. Caution number 2 of the night. That car just kind of spawned in. That's the number 9 car just having a bit of a moment. That is Bryce
De Guevara.
De Guevara, yeah.
Something.
So let's get a replay and see what happened here.
Let's try to. If this may be it, I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes when there's blinkers, it just makes it a little bit harder to get that replay queued up. Oh, there he's gone. So he was, oh yeah, so we don't, I don't do that very often, is hit the rewind button because I think it looks unprofessional, but he he respawned, who is that white car? Try to make out here. The 40, that's Gudakun. So when he respawned into the world, he respawned directly into Gudakun's path. So really nothing could be done about that.
That is, I mean, no matter how much you invest into your system, whether it's your wheels, your pedals, your shifter, your PC, your monitor, dread it, run from it. The tech issues will always arrive. You're going to lose that netcode battle at some point, and tonight, it just happened to the poor number 9.
Yeah, and it's the of all the issues that we can have here in this form of esport, in this form of just racing, the internet issues are the most frustrating one, because as a driver, you don't have control of them. You sort of, to an extent, have control of your PC. You can upgrade your parts, buy a new one. You can get a better graphics card, more RAM, faster. You can fix those problems. You can uninstall bloat software that slows your stuff down. But if you pay your ISP every month, you can't make the internet be better. That's kind of the difficult pill to swallow.
Yeah, and I mean, you can have NASA grade Wi-Fi and it's still gonna have issues from time to time. So yeah, it's unfortunate when it does happen, but hey, the fortunate thing is we're about to go back racing.
Yep, and you can see the damage there as Bryce tries to catch up with the back of the field. The sun not knowing what it wants to do here today at Langley. Get the sun peaked back up and now back under cloudy conditions. That'll give a little bit more grip here as we're 42 coming to 43 laps into today's event. Bishner gets that bottom lane, takes that lead, and then Nathan Rhew, he has worked his way up through the field. He's up to second highest. That number 88's been here on the evening.
Yeah, actually, he was not somebody I was expecting to go ahead and jump up like that, but hey, the only predictable thing about racing is that it is unpredictable. Caution. So Nathan Rhew and
parking lot,
that's
turn 3.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely caution worthy, as that is number 3 on the night. We had a good run of things with that one, and then just kind of like a down effect. You get one, you get multiple. We'll see what happens here.
All right, so we got to go a little bit further up here. Jacob Witt, he was involved, as well as someone in his vicinity here. Take one more look in this pack. Chris Horton there. We're a little early, but we'll get to it. Well, 62. Was that a 62?
I think that was 29. Oh, no, that was 62.
All right, this should be a good angle for us. Not this one, but... so, not 60. The 29 got turned by the 41. Get one more look at this, and then we'll move on back to live footage. Yeah, it was 29, but it just the angle. But yeah, the 41 got turned by the 29, or vice versa, and that just kind of stacked up the corner there. You can see the 777 around. You can see somebody else, that's Jacob Witt, around. So parking lot happened here as we go back to live pictures, and what do you know? The sun came back out.
If you would have said this track was in Florida, I would have believed you, just seeing how inconsistent the weather is, because this is like peak Floridian weather. Torrential rain at one moment and then just complete sunshine the next. Granted, we haven't had rain at this track, but that's pretty much how the weather goes in Florida. It goes from one thing to the other pretty much at the drop of a hat, essentially. So this track is going to get a bit warmer, and it's going to be a bit trickier for these drivers to handle. Hopefully they got their sunglasses, because that sun's going to be bright.
It was just 80 degrees last week here in New England, and we just had about 52 today. So I think New England will put a hat into that rig as well. But let's take a look while we talk about the weather. Interestingly enough, the track temp has gone down, probably because of all that massive cloud cover. But now that the sun is out, at least momentarily, as you can kind of see in the long shot there, a lot of clouds to be had. So I think the sun is very short-lived, but we'll find out together as pace car is in. Bishner back on the loud pedal. Rhew, best he's been all day. He is on the outside, and he got a good start. He may have got too good of a start there. He stayed side by side, took the lead for a brief moment here, and trying to fight on the outside. Won't be able to do it. Suck up trying to fill the gap in down low.
Yeah, he's going to try. We've seen some good pace from the number 45 car earlier on. He's going to try to go to the inside. He's trying to shake for the move. He's got it potentially. We'll have to see. Yep, he's got it definitely locked in now. Travis Suckup doing very good in that number 45 machine. He is fighting, but Nathan Rhew and Jack Fred are not going to give it up without a fight. Those two are going to put so much pressure onto Travis. We'll have to see if he can hold up that pressure, and then he wants to go ahead and chase after David just up the road to number 3. Some positions are being traded. Jack Fred did get through onto Nathan Rhew. He is up into 3rd, and now we're going to look for a move on the Travis at some point.
Now we'll see what happens, because look at the ebbs and flows that we witnessed earlier in the race are just very interesting to see, and if those will continue. We saw Suckup drive all the way through, get the lead. We saw Bishner drive through to get the lead. We saw Horton just absolutely drop like a rock and hasn't gone anywhere, mind you. That 42 is still stuck there in the 11th position. No damage there. So again, we're just so a little confused as to what caused him to have his race go so far awry there. But there's Jacob Witt. You can see the damage to that number 54. He is battling with Jeff Williams. That's 13th and 14th. As down to the flat and using those different lanes, different banking levels here at Langley.
Yeah, he's been putting them to some pretty good use in this battle. He is in P13 right now. He's going to want to go ahead and go into Chris Norris. But oh, look at this! Travis going very wide there into the wall. We got to get another replay of that. He's on the high line here. Does he just get too high? Yep, in the marbles and a little bit of a love tap.
Yep, so he will get himself back and try to figure out what to do from this point, because now Suckup is back to the 7th position, and maybe that is, I think he just hit the wall again. I think Travis just utilized, took advantage of all those tires that he had used earlier in the race, and now he has nothing left to play with. He'll have to fight another 40 laps until the stage. Bishner pulled out by a second on Nathan Rhew. Rhew is still not comfortable in that 2nd position, because that's Jack Fred and Jack McKean. Jacob Schneider, we've said that name once or twice, but now he is tagging along right to this top 5 battle.
Indeed, yeah, and if one driver makes a mistake up there, he's in a pretty prime spot to capitalize here. He's going to go ahead and try to look for any possible angle to try to get this move done onto the number 28 of Jack McKee here. He's going to go ahead and get right behind it, but once again, it is such a small track. You don't really, you really got to find a good moment to get overtake, because those moments just don't really present themselves too often here around Langley Speedway. So he's going to try, but patience might just be the name of the game here for the number 81.
Yeah, as I was telling you here in the pre-race rather, really about getting that run on corner exit, but it's not even so much about getting that run on corner exit, Patrick, because we've seen the multiple grooves come into play. You might get the run, but making the pass on the inside seemingly difficult, but then to the outside, if you get in the marbles, if you get too high, you're out and losing grip and into the wall. So kind of a very narrow lane that you have to work with here is getting through some traffic here. That's Bryce He is in those marbles, but intentionally trying to get out of the way of these leaders.
Yeah, that exact thing you were talking about earlier with it's kind of like you fly too close to the sun and you're just going to get burned. We saw that earlier, actually, from the number 45. He got too high earlier on and hit the wall. He was contending for the lead of this race, and now he's just falling a bit back down the order as Chris Horton is now trying to go ahead and put pressure onto Brent Meckies here, trying to go ahead and try to get the move done on the number 66. He has not had the greatest of races here today. From pole position down into ninth. Not exactly the greatest time, but he's going to go ahead and try to get a move up the inside. He's up into 8th now, so the Lexus is having a bit of a better time now, but still not the greatest.
Well, last time by, as we update the ticker, he was the only driver in the 15.7s. So last time by, he was kind of right on track with everybody. But he ran one of the fastest laps on the track, if not the fastest lap last time round, lap 66. Let's see what happened. This is a clean lap for him. Everyone's going to update. An 8:01. He's faster than the leader. So even with the stage caution, I wonder, did he have that long run pace? Or maybe, just maybe, hear me out, Patrick, maybe he realized, oh crap, I saved too much given the fact that we have an extra set of tires. Maybe he'll turn the wick up on the next half of the race.
Yeah, because, I mean, you really have to have two different approaches in these situations, because last race there wasn't another set of tires, so he pretty much had no other option really but to make that set of tires last, as we have a driver almost going into the grass. That is the number 10 of Jack Fred. He's not afraid of anything. He's up in the P2. That was a beautiful dive. And
a beautiful pun there. Absolutely loved that one there. As that 10 moves into that second spot, about 0.8 of a second off of our race lead. We will have a lap traffic recipient in the near future here. That is Jeff Williams, and that number 99. He will be the first to go one lap down. We do have Bryce and Dylan Winters. He is actually still chugging turn of laps here. I haven't even really seen him all race, but our league owner Dylan Winters is chugging laps, 10 laps down there in the 19th spot. So things to have happen here, but slowly but surely Jack is closing in. He's getting a little bit closer. Let's check on the battle tracker. Let's not.
Yeah, it sounded good in theory, but I think the caution number 4 of the race, I think had a different day. Oh, that car looked really messed up. It looked like the wheel was bent out of whack. Yeah, the number's 777.
Now this caution is, it must have been from, actually I don't know.
So we'll find out. Our version of the Wayback Machine, the instant replay.
Well,
so
there's no trigger, as I like to call it. Our system will kind of prompt us with things that happen, and I really didn't see as we just scroll around this track. We'll just we'll check from our blimp cam. I mean, it's a full camera here. Do we see that green car? Who is that green car?
I believe that should be. That might be the number 30. Yeah, that's the 31.
Brad Carpenter. That was the only thing that I potentially... Oh, there it is. It was a very subtle incident, but an incident nonetheless, right by Horton.
Ooh.
Might have been a little contact, but that is what I call a sissy caution, a preemptive caution. It's an algorithmic caution. That's what I was trying to say, where he fulfilled the requirements per the algorithm to throw a caution, but in reality, we'd probably let that slide. But here on the sim world, they err on the side of caution. No pun.
Yeah, I mean, that could have potentially led to worse, but I mean, that was a pretty high line for an issue to kind of spawn in at. So I think, I mean, personally, as a fan of motorsports, right, I think we could have just kept going, but obviously there is an algorithm in place for a reason, as we are one from green.
Yeah, I think we, whether admin did that or iRacing deemed it a quickie caution themselves. Looks like we're getting back to it relatively quickly here, and do have to remember that our stage will be at lap number 100. So we're going to have essentially a 22 lap shootout to get us to our next segment, and we'll see how competitive or how aggressive the drivers choose to be. But the green flag in the air, Bishner, who's led many laps, will get the whole shot advantage, and they'll be side by side for second.
Yeah, we'll see a few scrapes to the wall there from a few of these cars, but they all stay facing in the right direction now. Dave having a fantastic race. Nathan Rhew is back into that P2 spot. We have a really solid battle here.
Oh no, 28, McKee, Huff, Meckes.
And that's number 5 of the night.
Mayhew all the way down there trying to get the garage area.
Almost slammed into one of the porta potties on trackside.
Yeah, that was some contact with, I think that was Huff, if I'm not mistaken, in that black car.
Yeah, I think that's, that's the number 8 of Colt Huff there, and then the number 28 gets involved, Jack McKee, and then it just kind of spirals from there.
Yep, and that's Mayhew all the way down there, literally at the porta potties, but I don't know if too much damage occurred in that incident. But while we do have another caution flag, we are going to step aside for a brief moment. We'll be back with you for the restart, so please stay with us. All right, hope you enjoyed our random autocross copyright-free motorsport there, but we're back to green flag racing once more, taking lap number 84. Bishner and Rhew gonna dive it off in the corner. Looks like that outside lane, I was gonna say it's starting to go away a little bit, not as good as it was earlier in the race, but Rhew trying to defeat that sentence and trying to make it happen. He's gonna pinch him on down there, not get the lead at the stripe. But Fred just sniffing right behind. Look at the little wiggle from Bishner. That might be enough for Rhew, but no, Rhew's going to get loose. And now Fred trying to take advantage.
This is a beautiful restart to the race here in Hampton, Virginia. We are seeing some excellent battling here. Jack Fred, Nathan Rhew giving us a mighty fine show there just behind. A little bit of a love tap there against the wall for David Bishner there. Trying to go ahead and hold on to the lead with everything he's got, but Jack Fred just right behind him is going to go ahead and try to make moves, but Chris Horton has made his way back up the field. He's back up in the 4th. Remember earlier on he was pretty much out of the top 10 for a little while, and now with about 13, soon to be 12 laps before the caution, he's just jumped back up into P4 looking for a podium yet again. So I think your theory from earlier, Corey, pretty much came to pass. He might have realized he was managing a bit too much considering the resources he had available to him, and now he's on a hard charge.
Yeah, so now he will have a much better positioning, and assuming he has a good pit stop, and I'm sure he'll turn the wick up and make sure that he doesn't leave too much in the bank, because that's always the worst thing you can do as a driver, is you leave a little bit on the table that could have been utilized. So I'm sure he won't try to do that again. But Fred not dropping back. I don't think he's led a lap here today, has he? In that number 10, he's been getting closer and closer to the front, has not led a lap, but That may be coming to a change here. As look at the 3 going back up on the banking, getting a little bit loose, but still maintain the momentum. Fred driving it in deeper, drives it in deeper through the center, and he maintains the runoff. That's the hard part to do, is just being faster through the entire corner.
Yeah, we can just see the difference in the lines that they take through each corner. Jack Fred is trying to get more on the inside compared to the car just up the road ahead. And I mean, you could barely fit a soda can in between these cars with how close these guys are battling it out here. But just not too far behind, you have Nathan Rhew and Chris Horton. And it looks like we even have another car. Jacob Schneider is also in this battle. They are 5 cars just super close together. And theoretically, they're all in the battle for this lead here, from P5 all the way up to P1. Yeah, here we go. Just going for the move, going up for the inside. Jack Fred is going to hold it for now, but is he going to hold it through this corner? Yes, he does. Dave even potentially about to lose another position to Nathan Rhew on the inside in that number 88 car. He's going to go down to the flat, try to get the move done, dusted and delivered. It's going to be close, and I think he is going to get it. It is going to take a bit of time, but look at this. The pole sitter, Chris Horton's going to get a move done too, and this race is just coming undone for Dave in that number 3.
Yeah, he's up to that outside lane. That outside, it was good on fresh tires. It was good maybe before the marbles. The 8 of Chris Norris exiting the pits 1 lap down and forces everybody up to the outer groove. And it just seems that ever since that outer groove, you know, started to get marbled up, or I don't know what it was. The tire's worn, there's not as much grip, but it has fallen off as we now come to what should be 2 to go for the stage. It was said to be 100. I don't know if it's exact or 101 or if there's a delay on it, but that caution should be coming out in very short order.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think it is probably going to be, I think it's going to happen right at the end of 100, and then 101 is probably when this caution is going to start. We'll just have to find out. It'll be a short while before we find out. So they're going to come across to begin lap number 100 here very shortly. But Jack Freed now went from not leading a lap at all to now he is in a pretty decent lead, almost half a second to Nathan Rhew.
All right, let's see if Barney is going to do and put it on out here. We would imagine so if I was told the accurate information here. There it is, right on cue. I'm actually right at the start of 101, so that'll be our predicted and our expected stage caution here. Yeah, this is not something that happens often in this series, but there are a few races on the schedule that are, you know, extended distance, and there wouldn't be enough fuel, so throw that stage caution out rather than chancing green flag stops or anything crazy like that. But we'll expect pit stops here, and I do have a concern there, Patrick, for the guys maybe 10th, 15th, because I don't know if they can change 4 tires here and not lose a lap. The guys who are farther back on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, in any kind of condition, pit stops are always going to be a gamble, right? And even if you're in the front, you can make a pit stop and then come back out into traffic, and then that could sometimes even end your entire race if just one incident happens while you're trying to cut back through that traffic. But yeah, considering that this track is only 0.4 miles around per lap, now, the laps are going to be a bit slower under the pace car than it would be in regular racing, which the fastest lap right now, I believe, actually still does belong to the number 10, I want to say. I think he's got the fastest lap with a 15.5. Don't think anyone is under the 15.5 just yet, but so I think a lot of these drivers a bit farther down are probably going to lose position here, and well, they're definitely going to lose position, but yeah, I think they're going to lose a lap here, which is definitely not going to be a fun experience.
Now, interestingly, I don't know if this graphic works. It does not. I have to add that to my update list. There were some things in the background that I updated not too long ago, and that was not one of them, but we'll fix that later. It was basically just to show our pit times live on the screen. I can fix that later after the broadcast, but not for now. But I could show you this way at home, folks. Chris Horton, 11 seconds. That's fuel. 12, that's fuel. And Brad Carpenter, that's fuel. Then you have Nathan Rhew, 20 seconds, 22, 28, well, 23 seconds. So my interpretation is that our top three did not change tires and just fueled up.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be the optimal strategy or not. We'll just have to see, because, I mean, if I was in the situation, I would do both. I would just get a fresh set of rubber and some fresh fuel in the car. That's what I would do, but we'll see. They have a good feel of it because they're the ones on track, so we'll see how this restart goes.
Set some fresh fuel in the tank. You don't want that expired fuel. You know, the fuel that's been sitting out all winter in the lawnmower.
Nah, I don't think I'd get enough horsepower to that.
Well, we'll start here on lap 107. Let's see if that tire call was the one to make, but the pace car is in. We are back to green flag racing here. As something is beeping here in my background, but we're back to green.
Yeah, we are back to green indeed. The pole sitter back in the lead of the race. Chris Horton now in the lead. Don't believe he made a pit stop under the caution, but whether he did or not, he is in the lead of this race, and it is now Brad Carpenter and Steven Rex battling it out for P2 and P3 at the moment now. Now we do have Brad on the inside line, which might be the optimal line now at the restart. Look at Jack Fred, one of the former race leader, is now going ahead and trying to get these positions back. He's going to get the move done on the Steven Rex. He made it look easy, and now he's going to go in and go chasing. But now we have Nathan Rhew trying to get a move as well onto the number 6. He is going to get that move, but they're going to switch it back a little bit. Bit of contact there, forcing Nathan Rhew down the inside. It's ultimately going to work out in his favor, but there's more bumping and barging here, trading some paint between these two, as David Bishner is going to jump back up into P5, holding position for now and making some good moves in the process.
As up front, Horton pulled away by about 0.4 of a second over Carpenter, and then Fred back there, Fred on the fresh tires, and last time by, basically a draw between him and Horton, but this is a clean lap, so we'll see what the lap times will be. I'll show you here on the ticker, and Horton at an 8, Fred at a 7, so that's 1/10 of a second faster. That may be what those fresh tires will be providing here. I wonder, Horton, is that a risky call, do you think there, Patrick? Because he showed what he had for speed, he drove through the field. Why would you not want to just be on the same playing field? I think it's a very risky decision by the 42. Hopefully for him it plays out, but I'm a little nervous for him.
Yeah, that's definitely not the ideal strategy call, but hey, sometimes it's those kind of out-of-pocket strategy calls that end up working the best. As there's another caution on the field. That is going to be number 6 of the night, as the number 29 is around.
Gutekunst was damaged, and Mayhew, he was in the porta potties earlier. Oh my goodness, I think we got ARCA brakes here.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. Oh, yep, sure enough. Oh, that's a big one.
Brent Meckes here came in like, so the 40. One more look here. Now, Suck Up. Oh, the scoop. Boop, 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 boop. Suck Up made contact with Gutekunst. That sent Gutekunst around. Yeah, Meckes didn't necessarily arc a break into that, but he just didn't really have any good opportunity to evade that. Just Barney will have a very good look at this. A little bit of airtime there from Mayhew, I believe that was, and another caution flag here. Horton will... Actually, Horton may benefit from this because there's a little something in the tire world called a heat cycle, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Something gets hot and then it cools down and then it gets hot again, except in the form when it comes to rubber. When rubber cools down and gets hot again, it doesn't retain the same properties. It loses essentially grip from where it had the first time. So when you have a lot of heat cycles, after enough of them, newer tires kind of fall back into line with older tires.
Which, well, this guy could play really well into Chris Horton's hands. And honestly, we were saying earlier that Chris Horton is a driver who is very capable of managing his tires. So maybe when we were seeing him far down the field early on in this race, when he was down to like the lower reaches and even out of the top 10 in some instances, maybe that was exactly what Chris was doing. Maybe the number 42 was playing conservation mode. And like you said, those new tires don't stay new forever. So I think Chris Horton might have actually just played a strategic masterclass on us, and we just kind of missed it.
Yeah, perhaps he is more of a genius than we know, but he's a former champion, a multi-time race winner, so he knows something that we don't. We're back to green flag racing here, and that number 10 to the inside, and Brad Carpenter, he is going to try to fight for that second position, and if you're Horton, you want him to fight as long as he can. A little bit of contact there. That's going to send the 31 up into the marbles here, but he may actually maintain and get a better run off corner exit. Interesting enough, Bischner behind. He's trying to work his way back through the field. He's led a myriad of laps here today, 86 of them, and he wants to get back up to the front.
He does indeed, and he's going to try everything that he can here. Getting close, and the number 31 gets a little bit of a love tap there from Jack Fred there, and he's going spinning around. That's certainly going to throw out a caution, and yes, it does. That is number 7, I want to say. Number 7 if we don't count the stage caution. Oh, yep, he just got tapped. I think that was by
Nathan Rhew.
Yeah, it's the 88. Yep, just boop, and around he goes. Round and round like a merry-go-round.
Yeah, he was in that outer lane, and actually, Horton, what are you doing there? It's all the way up, and like he was running in the marbles. Maybe he was trying to cool the tires off, but I'll try to get a good angle. Actually, he's stopping here, but again, depending on your bit rates and your resolutions, this track is just absolutely, hopefully this angle really shows it as well, but this track is just inundated with marbles, and those marbles will get on the tires. iRacing does simulate it, and in recent updates they've made the marbles actually more grip degrading than in years past, and there's really only about 2 lanes on this track there, Patrick, that are clean and free of them.
Yeah, but also staying on those lines that don't have the marbles on them is a task much easier said than done. We've seen drivers try to avoid the marbles, but it is kind of it's kind of in vain sometimes, because sometimes the only lane that you could go into without running into somebody is that lane with marbles, especially. I mean, you could just see, if you see those little black specks of what looks like pepper around the far outer reaches of the track, that is not pepper, that is just little bits of rubble. Yeah, and the inside too, it's just peppered with it. Yeah,
entry of the pits, and they are running the apron here in certain parts, so you can see here they start to fade away because the drivers are running that apron lane, as Horton actually blinking in and out of existence there. So you can actually use the apron safely enough because of the fact that those are getting cleaned off, but you can see if you get high, we've seen it happen 2 or 3 times already. Drivers get high and they just absolutely just lose all grip, head right to the fence. But we'll try this once more. Yet another restart. Fred now to the outside in those fresher tires. Best chance he's had since the stage, but he didn't get going at all. Bischner's going to dive on in and clear, I think, for that second spot. Yes, he will.
Yeah, Jack Fred was caught napping there on the restart. Allowed David Bischner there to go ahead and get a really good overtake there to go ahead and jump back into that P2 position, trying to chase down Chris Horton. But now we have the number 6 going ahead and trying to get around here. That is Steven Rex, and he got it moved on to Jacob Witt, but Jacob Witt is going to return. He's going to return the Mustang to that P7 position. He's using the apron now, getting all sorts of those marbles, but he did crucially stay ahead of Rex. Him and Rex touching a little bit, trading a little bit of paint, as we see the number 6 really going to go ahead and try to put some extra pressure, as there's a bit of a gap forming between Jacob and Brent Mex there.
A little bit of a gap, maybe about 4 or 5 car lengths, which gives you enough room to get into a rhythm. These short tracks, more so than a lot of other styles of racing, because of how many laps you're running and how quick the laps are, they are really rhythmic based. And I'll tell you, my time as a driver, which I still drive from time to time, but the start, stop, yellow flag, caution, yellow, those are difficult. But once you can get into a rhythm and kind of get into your flow, you can really start ticking off some good laps.
I mean, honestly, that's when a driver is at their quickest, is when they're in that flow state, they're in their rhythm, and they can just pretty much keep up that consistency. You get into a bit of a pattern like you're talking about, just, you know, when to hit the corner, at what time, and at what angle, and at what speed, which is more applicable to like a road course. But overall, you are just in such a flow state, but when those cautions come out, it kind of disrupts your flow state. Because, I mean, I think it might have caught Jack Fred off guard too in the early stages, just because it's been such a cycle of stop, go, that he just missed one of the goes.
Yeah, that's exactly that happens. And Dave Bischner here, I mean, he's on the fresher tires. He has, he pitted that 23-second stop, him and Jack Fred. And interestingly enough, as each lap ticks off, last time by, Chris Horton, fastest car on the racetrack. Bischner down there at a 15.7. Fred kind of matched what Horton did this time by at 8, and there goes Jack Fred with the fastest time on the board. But Horton maybe a little bit more inconsistent than everybody else by a tiny bit, but he is maintaining and running, you know, with a decent gap. But anything could happen with still 60 laps to go, and still he's only 2 or 3 car lengths ahead.
Yeah, not exactly the biggest gap in the world, and that gap could close up really, really quickly now, as Dave is trying to close in on Chris Horton here. Now, I mean, I'm sure you can see that Jack Fred is pretty much all in his mirrors right now, and Jack Fred's got Jack McKee all in his mirrors right now, so they're going to go ahead and try to go ahead and navigate. The 15-year-old is putting on a mighty fine effort here. He's currently in podium contention here in that number 28 Texaco machine. A little bit of a love tap there against the wall. Going to open the door a bit for the number 81 of Jacob Schneider there, just directly behind. Tap another wall there, so he's a little bit out of rhythm. And he needs to get back in that rhythm, because he is having a pretty solid race here tonight. Putting pressure on the Jack Fred, and the number 54 is also putting pressure on the Steven Rest. Sitting against Dicey! Ooh, that could have been dangerous.
And I'm not saying that it's done yet. There is contact with the 54 of Witt and the 6 of Rex, and luckily everyone's still pointing in the correct direction. We do have 6 retirees here on the evening. John Gutekunst, Colt Huff, Eric Hudson, Chris Norris, Bryce De Guevara, and John Bernaccio, something to that effect. They are all out of the race. We do have Dylan Winters cruising along 13 laps down, and Scott Mayhew, the only other driver off the lead lap. Still 12 drivers turning laps, and this is the time of the race, this kind of situation, Patrick, where when we start to thin the field out, you know, more and more laps tick by, the odds of the race running green, they're not perfect, but with each lap that goes by, they become higher.
Indeed. And also, we have to remember, we had a really clean start to this race. We had quite a few laps without a caution being thrown here. And I think now at this stage of the race, with just over 50 laps to go, everybody has kind of gotten into that rhythm. They've kind of settled down here a bit. Some drivers are still going to go for it, like Jack McKee in that number 28. He's still going to go and try to put pressure on now. So you're still going to see attempts for the move being made here. And you're going to see drivers giving it the old college try and trying to get some of these moves done, like we're seeing Jack Fried trying to get onto the number 3 of Dave Bischner there. But I mean, those cars are really tightly knit. They're in such a tight pack. But I don't think we're going to see anything ludicrous here, just because we almost have only a quarter of this race left to go.
Now only a quarter left to go, coming to 50 to go this time by. Horton starting to pull away. Again, we question him, but these drivers don't just do one race a week here at eCAR. These drivers are doing multiple leagues, iRacing official. They're doing what they're doing. They have the experience of testing, so clearly he knew something we didn't know. But something else to bring up, we talked about weather, the interesting conditions here of the sun, the clouds, all that whatnot. It was a 97 pre-race. It went down to 90 when we checked, I don't know, maybe about lap 75, 80. Track temp now over 100. So now that sun has been baking out, these drivers have been running all these laps, that track heating up. And as it heats up, it slicks up. And usually when there's a slick track, that causes separation between the cars, makes them harder to drive. And again, to my prior point, usually makes things run a little bit greener.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, we're going to have to just see who can navigate these changes the best, because the strongest trait in any driver is adaptability, because you're going to have these changing track conditions, and if you don't adapt to it, then you're just not going to have a great time of it. So we'll see which of these drivers can adapt to this track evolution the best and who can capitalize on it here, because right now I think Chris Horton has really capitalized on the situation he is in, because I mean, we were doubting him earlier like we were talking about, but now he's in such a good spot. I mean, he's got almost about 3/4 of a second on the car behind, which is in a bit of a state of ebb and flow. But you have the number 3 and the number 10 who are your closest competitors right now, duking it out. Jack McKee going a bit wide there, David Schneider going and slotting on into that P4 position. And if the two drivers behind Chris Horton do stuff like that, then his gap is just only going to increase as time goes on.
And it makes you wonder as well, where you wonder what the setup was designed to do. Remember, this is an open setup series, so they I mean, I have to imagine they build the car in a certain environment, a certain weather set. And, you know, if it gets hotter, it gets colder, then, you know, you have to make those adjustments. Of course, Horton couldn't make any tire adjustments because he didn't change tires, but makes you wonder, did he build his setup more for warmer conditions in those colder temps earlier? Maybe that threw that car out of whack. Maybe it was a little bit too tight, but now maybe he built it for a warmer track temp, and as you can tell, now the gap starting to push a second, so this may be exactly what he wants. No, look at him. He missed the corner entirely. He got in the marbles, lost 3/10. It's going to probably lose grip for a lap or two while he gets it cleaned off. He missed it again that time by.
Yeah, so something has clearly unsettled Chris Horton there, because he was in a good state. But now things are just not looking too good for the Lexus out in front. And yeah, I mean, if you get into those marbles, then things are going to get pretty tricky for a couple of laps. And even then, even though you may be back to your pace after about 2 or 3 laps as you clear off those marbles from your tires, I mean, Dave Bichner is still really close, and that gap isn't going to extend anytime soon unless Dave does a similar mistake. So you pretty much just invited a problem that you really didn't want to have with about 40 laps to go here.
Yeah, he had the biggest lead he's seen all day, the biggest lead really we've seen since, I'd say, lap 30, 40, 50, somewhere in that ballpark. He was out there by 1 second. And now those 2 bad laps all the way out there in the third groove, in the marbles, that lead is now halved, and he's maintaining it at around half a second. And I think the best thing that can happen for Horton is that Jack Fred in that number 10 car with the very vibrant red interior of Jack Fred. Maybe he could start battling with Bichner here, and that would help Horton's case out. But the best thing that could happen for Fred is that they don't have that happen, and maybe all 3 of them can have a battle. Maybe Jacob Schneider could be in the mix as well, as I thought I saw a pretty big wiggle by Bichner, but even with the wiggle, he's still gaining.
Yeah, he's still going ahead and pushing. He's trying to close the gap here to get back into the lead of this race, because he led over 80 laps of this race here today, so he wants to lead more. He wants to be in the lead, but at the time the checkered flag flies out. So we'll see if the number 3 can go ahead and get it done. Jack Fred is not going to make things easy for him. He's always going to make him just kind of check it. Whoa, that's how close these guys are. I was saying earlier that you couldn't fit a soda can between some of the cars. Here, you can barely fit a napkin between these cars. No quarter given at all.
Yeah, as close as you can physically get. And caution on the Speedway. It is Mayhew for the third time here today. Mayhew involved in having some sort of issues, and that's going to make things interesting as we'll tighten things up here with not many laps left to go. And he just got loose all by his lonesome. He wasn't in the marbles. He just got loose in the racing line. And very undulating infield, as you can see there.
Yeah, that's, I mean, he's had a few of those moments tonight. So, I mean, sometimes there are drivers who just don't really like a particular style of track or just don't like a particular track at all. And this might be the case for the number 29. He's just not really had the greatest of nights here for Scott Mayhew Jr. As Brad Carpenter is now in the pits, interesting, or he might just be out of the race. We'll have to see. Nope, he's in the pits.
And I don't see, I saw a little poppage, if such word exists, as if he got a little damage repaired. Not a fast repair, but I kind of saw that right rear quarter panel area seem to be repaired a little bit. But what this will do, and well, to your other point, certain tracks, and well, first off, Horton, I wonder if this is a tire cooling tactic. Maybe he's like, maybe I can get the marbles off of the tires, but the more important thing is to get the heat out of the tires. So even if that means, you know, scraping the marbles off, so be it. But again, next week's race will be live here next week, October 16th. If you're watching this live, or close enough to live, will be at 5 Flags. That'll be a 90-lap race, so that's going to be a really, really quick race. And then Oxford and North Wilkesboro, presumably the new version of that. That'll conclude our month of October here. And yeah, Horton really trying to cool these tires off. 30 laps to go. He might have to shake them off, give them a couple scrubs on the wheel, and get some of those marbles off in the process.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that's going to work for him as we're about to go ahead and get racing once again here. Is Chris Horton going to have that good start that he needs, or is Dave going to get the overtake that he's been so desperately craving? As we're about to go ahead and get ready for green here, Barney's holding that green flag. The pace car is in, and the pace of these cars is going to ramp up as we're going back green here on lap 171 here. And it is a good start there from Chris Horton, but Dave Bichner is not letting him off easy. He's going to go ahead and try to continue, try to get some moves going here. The number 10 of Jack French thinking about moves, but once again, it's everybody just trying to find their rhythm again.
Yeah, I remember this is now a second heat cycle on those tires that, you know, Bichner and that Fred and, you know, Schneider and a couple of those guys have had. So their tires now are closer to probably the conditioning of Horton's. But again, Horton's been on those same set of Hoosiers since lap number 1. He started the race on these. So, but right off the get-go, you could see Horton's the one that's comfortable. That 3 is just all over the place and sideways. But we can't say too much because remember, Horton got a 1-second lead, missed the corner, got in the marbles, and he lost that entire lead in 1 lap. So don't get too excited, but actually, here comes Jack Fred, new second place driver.
Yeah, there we go. He made the move. He's up in the second. But how much time did that cost him compared to Chris Horton, which it looked like Chris Horton had a little bit of a brush with the wall there, so he's going to lose a few hundredths of a second. Not a massive loss, mind you, but it's still enough to be at least slightly noticeable. But are we going to see Dave go ahead and try to get a move there? Jack Fred having a little scrape of the wall of his own, as Dave Bichner is going to get really close as you'd want to the back of that number 10. He will remain in P3 into number 3, but he's going to want to change that very soon.
Yeah, Jack Fred, he's been in second, he's been in third, he's driven himself through the field, but what he hasn't done is led a lap yet, and if he's going to, he's only got about 5.5 minutes of actual racing to get himself into that lead, but running laps that are actually slower than the race leader. Let's take a look. Last time by, you can see what it was. Horton fastest. Now we're at a 91. That time by, Fred a little bit faster, but by a little bit, we mean quite a little bit, only 2/100ths of a second. That's not going to eliminate a 3/4 second gap.
It is not, no. So you got to really try to push as much as you can. You got to try to keep it clean, keep it off the marbles with 20 to go. it's pretty much going to be make or break time here for these drivers. They don't have a lot of time left. 20 laps sounds like it might be a lot, but considering this track is only 0.4 miles long, it's really not. Lap times now, the fastest lap that I can see is actually held by Chris Horton. A 15.486 right now is the fastest lap. So, I mean, 20 laps really is not a lot, just considering the track that we're on. So, but now Chris Horton is out to nearly a second of a gap here. So, the strategy did earlier that we were questioning early on in the broadcast, well, it looks like we might have just been proven wrong here, Corey.
Yeah, I mean, we would be proven wrong on all accords here. Remember, he won last week's race at the Kern County Raceway and started on the pole, absolutely fell like a brick all the way to the mid-teens, and then drove his way up to the front all the way to the top 5, made the call to not change tires on the one and only pit stop, and now he's enjoying the biggest lead that he has enjoyed on the race, which is 1 second, and this is where he made his mistake. Right around when he had that 1 second lead, he absolutely overdrove the corner. He's going to do everything in his power to not do that, but it's just so interesting how 185 lap tires are faster than tires that are half the age.
That is a crazy thing too, because you would think that, oh, you know, my laps are fresher, my tires should be quicker, but I think it just comes down to that heat cycle that you were talking about earlier, where those new tires don't stay new for too long, especially in those constantly changing conditions. As we see Jacob Snyder trying to go ahead and get into the top 4 here, trying to go ahead and get past Nathan Rhew, and through goes Schneider up the inside. A good pass from the number 81, as the number 88 is still trying to go ahead and put pressure on him. But with 13 laps to go, you're just running out of laps to retake that position. I wonder if we're going to see that position, but I think Jacob Snyder, I think he's clearly got the advantage out of the two, as there's a car way on the inside. That's the number 6 of Steven Rex. Now I think he's fallen way down the order, so he might actually be down. Yeah, he's down a lap now. Yeah,
I wonder, you know, there's that way of sometimes you get more in the way by trying to get out of the way, but this time we're going to tap into 10 laps to go, and that lead now pushing a 1.5 seconds and then some. Last time by 0.2 of a second faster, as looks like Rex did take it to the pits or retire from the race, at least at the present moment. But the best battle on the track will be 3rd spot Dave Bishon. Remember, he led I think it was 86 laps. We'll just refresh our memories. Hard in the fencer. Yes, 86 laps, and he'll be lucky at this point to settle for a podium finish, because Snyder is just there stalking the prey and is trying to find a way around. You can see that 3, that right rear is kicking out on every corner.
Yeah, it seems that he's just kind of struggling with grip here in the latter stages of the race with 8 to go. So you get roughly about 2 minutes of racing left on the track. So you really just gotta figure it out. You gotta pretty much either make the move and just risk it. But that's exactly what he does. He risks it and
he saves it.
Or he saves it, but got sent around. That was, ooh, let's look at it again. Just touched on the inside, a little tap again, saves the Cadillac there as he just continues on. I mean, that could have been so much worse for the number 3, but that is definitely going to go to the stewards afterwards, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good old bump and run. I mean, I wouldn't call it a bump and run. I would call that a, you got turned, but you also got saved. They were close enough that he was actually able to use the 81 as a saving mechanism there, was Dave. So that keeps him in the top 5. But look, he may also not be too mad about that, because he probably realizes that he was going to lose that position at some point, most likely anyways, as now Horton has eclipsed now a 2-second lead with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and give it the old college try, but I mean, his only real concern now is just kind of keeping the car facing in the right direction. I mean, he's got a 2.2 second gap with 3 laps to go. I mean, this is pretty much Chris Horton's race to lose here. He has done everything right on the strategy front. We questioned his strategy, but in the end, it paid off dividends as Barney brings out the white flag for the final lap of this race.
I've stayed out took the pole, fell back to 10th, and then drove through the field, used a questionable tire call, but that worked to his advantage, and he's going to start the season back-to-back wins. Week 1 at Kern, Week 2 at Langley. Chris Horton gets himself another checkered flag.
As Jack Fred and Jacob Snyder round out the podium here, it was a very intense race here at Langley Speedway. A very well-driven race from Chris Horton. I mean, we got to give him a lot of props. He had a very good race here today. He led 98 laps, almost half the race he led. So, very good stuff here from the number 42, and he adds another win to his record book.
Yeah, he basically led the entire second half of the race after that stage caution flag. So congratulations go to him on a well-deserved win. Again, that's what practice and testing does to you. It really gives you those critical decisions to make. But let's go over our finishing results. We got Chris Horton leading by almost 3 seconds. The final margin, absolutely insane. Jack Fred with the second, Jacob Snyder in third, Nathan Rhew in fourth. Dave Bishner has to settle for fifth after that contact, leading 86 laps. Brent Meckes with the sixth. We have Jack McKee in seventh, Carpenter, Witt, and Suckup rounding out our top 10. And I know you get the tough names on the second page there, Patrick.
We'll give it a go. Jeff Williams comes home in P11. Scott Mayhew Jr., Stephen Rex, Dylan Winters, John Gudenkust, and then we have Colt Huff, Eric Hudson, Chris Norris, Bryce Deguvara, and then John Bracacchio, rounding out our top 20.
All right, so we'll start our interviews here. A lot of them use a separate voice channel server, then they come over here after the fact, but we do have second place. If you want to grab him and have a word with him, Patrick could talk to Jack Fred.
All right, thank you, Corey. Jack Fred, P2 on the race today. It seemed pretty tricky out there at times. You had some pretty good scuffles throughout these 200 laps. How did you find the track today?
Yeah, I got a little tight at the right before the stage break there at the 100 laps, so I loosened up the car a little bit, and it just made it way too loose there at the end.
Ultimately, you did have a good race. You started in P5, made your way up to second. You got a podium. How is your confidence going into this race, considering it is a really tight track here?
This is honestly one of my favorite tracks to run, so I came in with a lot of confidence, spent a lot of time on my setup during the week beforehand, and I felt good going into it.
All right, so 2 more questions before we go ahead and let you go. It is 5 flags for 90 laps next week. Are you feeling equally as confident going into the circuit, or do you think it's going to take some practice?
I definitely got some work to do for 5 flags, but hopefully I can finish one spot better, you know?
Indeed. I mean, once you get that second place, you're just always going to be hunting for that win, and that's the best mentality to have here, especially in what looks like to be a very competitive season. Last question before we let you go here. Is there anyone you would like to thank or shout out after tonight's race?
Yeah, I just want to shout out all my guys that are watching. You know, I got a bunch of friends, and probably my mom and dad are watching too, so just want to shout them out, give them thanks.
It's always awesome to see the amount of support that these drivers get here. Well, once again, Jack, congratulations on the P2, and we'll see you next week at 5 Flags.
Thank you. I'll see you guys.
All right, so that is Jack, and now I have our race winner. Back-to-back wins for the number 42, Chris Horton. You started the race up front, you finished up front, but we were very confused because you dropped like a rock to start things out, but it seems like that was a strategic move, man. Were you just trying to save your set of tires for this whole 200 laps?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to set my left side tires. We ended up only taking right sides there at the halfway break, but just saved and conserved them, and we were all out for the rest of the 100 laps at the end.
Yeah, I know you put a lot of work in running different leagues and probably official and stuff too, and everybody else. We didn't know if you took 2 or 4 just because of the time, and now we know that you took 2, and you ended up really having the car to beat. Got pulled up by almost 3 seconds. Was that something you kind of built in with the setup to, you know, those 2 tires weren't going to free it up too much, or was that kind of a game time decision that, try a different tire strategy?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think I was super loose there at the end. I didn't think I was gonna get that loose. I was tight for the first 100. So, that probably helped me out a ton, just being tight for the first 100 there.
All right, and next week's race course, today's race a little bit longer, one of our extended distance races. Next week, another short race, 5 flags, 90 lapper. What's the confidence level you can pull off a turkey and go for a three-peat?
I might be able to do that. I really haven't ran any laps of 5 flags in a long time, probably since the last time we ran this league, when you broadcasted it, so hopefully we can build a good piece for that and go out there and win that one too.
All right, man. Well, we'll see what you can do. Pulling off a turkey in racing, that's not an easy task, but see if you can do it. Any final words or thanks you want to give before we let you go?
And I just got to thank y'all for broadcasting it and Dylan for putting on the league, man.
Absolutely, my friend. Congrats again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, we do not have P3 of Jacob Snyder, so I guess we'll kind of call it there. So I'll just double check. Yep, he's not here. So either way, that's a good race here. A little bit of rough around the edges at times, but that's why you stay at the end. We were questioning the 42, and look where he ends up at the end of the race.
Indeed, yeah. Honestly, it's no secret that we were kind of confused. Typically you'd want to get all those fresh tires, but in the end, he adds another win, 2 in a row, and he's going to look to do the same thing again next week. And like you said, try to get the 3 in a row, get the hat trick, get the turkey, and get another one on the board.
Exactly that here. Again, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe here on PTR TV, trying to get 1,900 subscribers. Stay tuned for our next broadcast. We'll be live on Sunday night with the Triple Bypass Cup Series. We'll be back again on Tuesday with the Triple Bypass ARCA Series. Back on Wednesday with the Elbows Out Racing. Patrick will be there with me for 2 of those events, and then we'll be back here again next Thursday for some eCAR. Full week on PTR TV. Let's have you along for the ride with us. But that'll be Corey and Patrick signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time. We are clear.